You're listening to JetNation Radio, the official podcast of JetNation.com, the largest independent fan site in the NFL. Be sure to check out our forums and talk all things Jets with thousands of other diehard Jets fans. Now, to get you up to date on all the latest Jets news, notes, and quotes, here are your hosts, Dylan Tereman and Alex Varallo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of JetNation Radio. These are your hosts for the evening. I'm Alex Varallo, joined with Dylan Tereman. Dylan, how are we doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing really good. I opened my mail today, and I got Coach Westhoff's book, Figure It Out, right there at my front door, just like he said. Took less than a week to come in, and I'm also doing good because talking to you feels like I'm talking to a celebrity, Mr. Episode 4 of Flight 2022.
Oh, man, yeah, that was definitely a big shock for me, and what the listeners may not understand what Dylan is talking about is a couple sound clips came from our draft show back in April, and yours truly got a couple clips in that episode 4 mark, right in the first 10 minutes. So if you recognize my voice, maybe you know what Dylan and I are talking about. But if you go back and you review episode 4 from the Jets YouTube show, yours truly is out there and humbled, just happy to be here, as they say, pleasantly surprised and shocked. And got to say, I love what we do here for Jet Nation, and being able to talk about our favorite team is a blessing. And, just kind of living vicariously through this team, more or less is what I'm trying to say. And I'm a little lost for words because I'm still getting the chills thinking about it. But, Dylan, we do have a special guest for this evening from the Daily News. DJ Bien-Aime is going to be joining us, waiting for him to come onto the studio. But, while we're waiting for the man of the hour to come on, what did you think of the episodes?
I definitely thought it was a great show. I ended up waiting till Saturday to watch it. I was home alone all day with the dog, so I got a chance to watch all 5 uninterrupted. Started dozing off a little bit when I got into episode 5, so I had to go back and rewatch it. But I loved it. I thought it was great. The inside look at all the draft picks was cool. And I hope that they continue to build on this series every year, because getting the deep dive into the new additions, whether it's free agency or draft, is always fun. And I think that Joe Douglas clip of trying to trade up for Jermaine Johnson is one of my favorite clips by far of that. They said Jermaine Johnson left the meeting, come up and get me, and that's what they did. So I love that the Jets stayed true to their word, and I love that we get to see a little background behind the scenes on it. So I thought it was great. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, that's got to be the coolest part about it. We don't see enough of the background work, the names that you don't read about or hear about every day. And, there's guys working out, within the organization tirelessly, 24/7, 52 weeks out of the year. These guys are plugged in, reading and writing scouting reports, and you can definitely tell that a lot of these guys probably have had some sleepless nights, maybe a few hours of sleep here and there. But you can tell that a lot of work and effort was put into that show, and it's like having our own little mini Hard Knocks. So very exciting when they put that stuff together. I don't think you can not have enough content for us Jets fans. We definitely love every minute of those little shows, and hopefully there will be some more down the line. Dylan, I do happen to see a caller in the studio, so this may be the man of the hour. Let's just check. DJ, is this you?
It is.
Right on. Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Bien-Aime from the Daily News, our special guest for the evening. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Like I said, when I reached out to you, I've been meaning to send this request for quite some time. I didn't know your timeline, with your outfit right now was coming to an end, but I'm very, very happy that you were able to pencil us in for this week, and we can pick your brain to see what's going on with the New York Jets, because everybody here from Jet Nation, I have to say, I think that you're one of my favorite from the beat, and what you have brought to the table, it's just like a breath of fresh air. Your tweets are very descriptive. It makes me feel like I'm actually there on the sideline checking out the team. So, we appreciate all the work that you have done. But Dylan and I are very excited to talk to you and just, find out what your experience has been like with the New York Jets. And I'm just going to come out with my first question for the night. And how did a Miami fan end up covering the New York Jets?
So it's like when you're trying to trying to become a beat reporter, you kind of got to put your fandom to the side. Not kind of, you have to put your fandom to the side, and that's what kind of made it easy. And I knew that, this was a great opportunity for me. And I don't usually let my fandom ever influence how I think about the Jets or how I cover the Jets or anything like that, because at the end of the day, a fan doesn't pay my bills. Covering the Jets does, or at least it did. So that was kind of easy for me. I already had paid a lot of attention to the Jets prior to me hopping on the beat. Obviously, they were in the division of my favorite team, and my best friend is a Jets fan. And I was believe it or not, I was a big Sam Darnold fan coming out of USC, and his first 2 years. Yeah, I was a believer in Sam, so I paid attention. And I really liked Jamal Adams. I really liked his get down. I really liked how he played. So I always paid attention, and even going back to during my early childhood of me watching football, was just really good, and they had really good players obviously Darrell, so things like that. So it wasn't really, they were quote unquote the rival, but in my opinion, the Jets were never ever a team that I had this vengeance and vitriol for. That was for the Patriots. Why would I be, beefing with the Jets when the Patriots are the team that ruined my season before week one even arrived?
Yeah, that's a good point. And growing up as a kid, I always remember the biggest rivals were between the Dolphins and the Jets. And somehow, with Bill Belichick and Coach Parcells and all that drama, it just kind of turned into this new rivalry between the Patriots and the Jets. And they've had some great matches, but I still kind of feel growing up as a Jets fan that, the ultimate rival, I always want, to beat the Dolphins. And, for whatever reason, I thought I was the bad curse because I always travel to go see my family down in Florida when the Dolphins are hosting the Jets. And I don't think we've beaten you guys in your house in the last, I want to say 4 years, maybe 5 years. So maybe I should stay home for this upcoming game in January. But, I know my family wants me to come down there. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to stay in the parking lot or something for that. But, DJ, you were there last year. You saw Zach Wilson as a rookie and, Coach LaFleur and Coach Saleh in their rookie seasons and everything like that. What can you say has changed? Is there a major difference from what you're seeing today in 2022 compared to last year?
So I think Zach is a lot more decisive with his reads in the sense that he's placing his eyes where they need to be placed a lot more consistently, play in and play out. So that was the biggest emphasis throughout the offseason, and they have completely addressed that, and that's where a lot of the energy is focused on for Zach. So we all know he has the arm talent. We all know he can do stuff off platform, but play in, play out, it's about making sure you can read defenses from the offensive perspective, not from how you want to read it, because the way the plays are, scripted in a way that you have to read it within the confines of the offense, not, doing, a whole bunch of extra stuff that sometimes he caught himself doing because, he was used to being able to have that autonomy to read defenses in a, full field
way at BYU. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously he was just more talented than everybody, and he had all day in the pocket. In NFL, windows are a lot tighter. Windows are a lot tighter, and obviously your offensive line isn't going to give you 5-6 days to throw the ball. So he's gotten a lot better with that. So that's helped him be more decisive. So a lot of it comes down to him trusting his eyes, and I think he's been a lot better with that.
That's great. Yeah, it's good news, and it looks like he has not skipped any of his workout days, and he's put on a lot of muscle mass. I believe I read something that he was around 208 to 210 last season, and now he's pushing around 220, maybe a little bit more. I know that sometimes things get a little, emphasized, or they get beefed up as, the story goes from one person to the next. But he does significantly look like he has a stronger frame to work with, and, perhaps that can help him with his durability. And, there were some passes, I believe, where they were gimmies, those shorter passes within the flat. You'd see him kind of lose a little bit of air and life in that ball, and it kind of seems like now he's put on a little bit more muscle mass, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier for him to get that quick release out. So I'm definitely excited for that. Now, in your opinion, would you say that the Jets have improved their roster with this offseason and the current draft?
Absolutely. Just not even like the draft, because the rookies, on the surface level, it seems like, you just added some abundance of talent, which you kind of did, but rookies are still rookies, and they're receiving information through a fire hydrant. You know what I'm saying? They are overwhelmed with information at this point in time. They're trying to figure out where they got to be each play, you know what I'm saying? Then they got to execute that play, and now they're going to get more talent. So there's just a lot more going through their line. But I think, obviously, they improved the offensive line with adding Laken Thompson. They added a cornerback in DJ Reed, who I really like. They got Jordan Whitehead, who looked good during OTAs. I like the underrated move in Jacob Martin. Obviously, two tight ends, and C.J. Uzama and Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin probably is going to be tight end number one. And I really like the Breece Hall addition. I think out of all the rookies, Breece Hall will probably be the best one in year one, because running back is such an easy and seamless transition for them. So I think in year one he'll probably have the most impact out of all the rookies. How much the impact will be, we'll see. But I think he'll have a very seamless transition. But yeah, man, the roster across the board is a lot better. I think that's what's kind of impressive, that Zach was executing the offense better, but he had more up and down days through OTAs compared to last year, because the offense was pushing him and really challenging him last year. It was pitch and catch for him the majority of the offseason.
Right on. Dylan, why don't you go ahead and jump in here and hit DJ with a couple of your questions.
Yeah, for sure. Again, thank you, DJ, for joining us. I feel like we've talked about this privately, Alex and I, having you on, so I'm glad that we were able to get you in before you do leave and move on to other endeavors. My first question, though, is about the cornerback position. How do you personally see the position as a whole playing out? I think there are some out there that still think Bryce Hall is a starter on this defense. And I know that a few months ago on the Badlands podcast, you mentioned that opposing teams weren't afraid to throw at Bryce Hall because at worst it would be a pass breakup. I was wondering if you see a non-injury scenario where Bryce Hall is a starter for the Jets in week one. I know you mentioned rookies being in a bit of a fire hydrant information-wise, and if that would hinder Sauce Gardner from being a starter alongside what we presume DJ Reed at $11 million a year.
Yeah, no shot, because again, they invested number 4 over. Maybe if they drafted a cornerback with the 35th overall pick, or they drafted a cornerback with the 26th overall pick, then maybe they drafted in the top 4. This is New York media. Can you imagine the amount of stories that will be dropping if Sauce isn't a starter by week 1? Bryce is starting over him. It'd be insanity. Yeah, it would be crazy. well, could I see a scenario where Bryce starts and like DJ Reed is in the slot, and Sauce is on the outside? Maybe, but like I doubt that because like I completely doubt that because they love Michael Carter. Like Michael Carter, they love Michael Carter. So like I don't see that happening. Like they paid DJ Reed $11 million to play on the outside, not to play in the slot either. So yeah, I think if I put a percentage, I probably put it at like 0.75, not even like a full 1%, because there's just like at the end of the day, it's the NFL's politics, and the politics right now say, okay, hey, DJ Reed, we paying you $11 million. We took you in the top. We took you number 4 overall pick. Y'all too sorry. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned I was surprised that there was any DJ Reed in the slot talk because of how much they do talk about Michael Carter. So I assumed it was the way that you said it, Sauce and Reed on the outside with Carter starting in the nickel. Piggybacking off that question, though, do you think the cornerback position is poised to make the biggest leap on defense? If not, what position group is on defense, and which position group is poised to make the biggest leap on offense as well?
So I think this year, I think, per unit, I think that the safety unit, man, it's gonna be like night and day compared to what we saw at the end of the year last year. I really like what I've seen from Jason Pinnock. He's made plays a lot. He's made plays like he looks like he could be a quality starter in the NFL. Who else? Obviously, LaMarcus Joyner looked good. He was looking good last year. He got hurt early, and I like Jordan Whitehead. So I think that can make the biggest jump. You can mention cornerback, but like safety was just as bad, if not worse, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that it's just not as much of a within the scheme where like it's just more interchangeable. And then on offense, I think tight end, because tight end was just it was a doormat since Dustin Keller outside of that 1 year from Chris Herndon. So I absolutely believe that tight end for sure. Because C.J. Uzomah, people underestimate the value of having a good starting player, right? Like whether it's a linebacker, offensive line, or safety or cornerback, just having a quality starter, a guy that he might not be a superstar, not a Pro Bowler, but he's not going to mess up. He'll do what he's supposed to do, and he's going to be a good locker room guy. So that's what C.J. Uzomah is. I think Tyler Conklin is a little bit better, but again, those are two quality starting NFL caliber tight ends. That's just something that the Jets across the board, whether it's a tight end position, running back position, O-line, receiver, whatever, D-line, whatever. Now, they just didn't have a lot of that last year, where it was like there's quality starters and quality depth. You gotta remember, like, injuries will happen. Like, somebody is going to get hurt, and what do you have behind that person to step in and be able to contribute? And I think that cornerback, the Jets are in a very good spot. I think that at tight end, they're at a really good spot. Receiver, they're at a good spot. Yeah, they're at a good spot. Same with running back in terms of depth, because again, like when somebody has to miss a game, you gotta hope that you have guys that can step in and they can still make plays. So.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time since the Jets were even good at those skill positions, but I think every Jets fan would agree tight end on offense. And I'm glad you said safety on defense, because I think it is overlooked due to all the injuries and the Jason Pinnock switch from corner to safety that happened. I feel like it kind of went swept under the rug, that safety, while it's not a dominant position in this defense, it is important, and they did drastically improve the position. All right, my next one. In your opinion, do you think the Jets have a realistic shot to win games within the division? I don't want to put you against your favorite team, the Dolphins, here, but they don't seem to stand a chance against Buffalo as it currently stands. New England has a coaching advantage that the Jets can never seem to overcome, so it looks like Miami would be the, on paper, easiest target to win the divisional game, and I was wondering if you think the Jets do have a shot against either Miami or New England, or, the long shot against Buffalo this year.
I think they got a shot against all of them. Like week 18, they played Buffalo down to the fourth quarter, And obviously the offense just couldn't do anything, and then they eventually broke through. I mean, like the New England game, let's be honest, like if Zach doesn't throw 4 interceptions in week 2, they're right in it because like they didn't get obliterated. Like they lost, I believe, like 25-6 or something like that. It was some weird number, but they didn't get obliterated. Even with Zach playing as poorly as he did, like it was still a game, just And then the Dolphins game, the second game came down to the last drive, and then I think the first game it was a tie game at half, and then obviously the Dolphins eventually like pulled away, and then the Jets finally, I think they scored. They were down by 10 with like a little bit to go. The Dolphins prevent defense, but like most of the games were competitive, So yeah, I think they could beat the Dolphins. They could beat the Patriots. Obviously, I wouldn't bet them to beat the Bills, but like you never know. This is a divisional game, So like when it comes to divisional games, you just never know. Like we saw the Jaguars beat the Colts week 18 for like when the Colts needed that game when they get in and they lost. So yeah, absolutely, I could see the Jets for sure winning multiple divisional games. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not really that high on the Patriots, and we still got to see how all these pieces come together for the Dolphins. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's good that you mentioned the Buffalo game week 18 because a lot of Jets fans were already thinking about the offseason throughout that game, and C.J. Mosley himself on the Jets official podcast said that might have been their best defensive game as a unit. So you could see that they were quick in. They held the Bills, like you said, and then obviously they're going to break through eventually. My last question is a non-football question, but I believe you have asked a handful of players, Carl Lawson, Ty Johnson included, about their interest in anime shows. And I was wondering if you could share your favorite anime or an anime that you would recommend to somebody who hasn't watched a ton before but is looking to get into it.
Yeah, so the best anime in the world to ever exist is obviously Dragon Ball Z, without question.
Nice.
But yeah, man, no, I just grew up watching Dragon Ball. To be honest, that's like the only anime I watched. I watched a little bit of Attack on Titans, but like I don't know why. I just kind of always get distracted and I don't finish it. But yeah, man, I've always, that one thing about when you cover a team that you got to do is find their interest outside of sports and ask them questions about that because like, it can get monotonous where it's just a typical why couldn't you guys stop the run or what the keys for you guys to win and you're going to get your typical answers. Sometimes, you want to kind of change it up just so you can get a little more flavor for the conversation. Z, man, the GOAT. That's the GOAT anime right there. That's what so many people's childhood. I mean, I've heard people say like others are better, other animes are better, which I believe, but I don't think any of them have the quote unquote impact that that one had.
Sure, yeah, you can't go wrong with a staple. And I think it's important that you do go ask the questions about what the players' interests are because the Jets press conferences, they do get a little monotonous, but we do appreciate you coming in and asking your film-related questions, really getting the most out of these coaches because you really make them think. I've come on the show numerous times and used, questions that you ask and the answers, and we're breaking them down, and you just get the most out of the questions that you ask compared to the others. So I appreciate it, and we're going to miss you here covering the Jets, and I'm not sure if you can say where you're going next, but if you can, we'd love for you to plug it.
Man, I appreciate the love, man. Jets fan, I've gone on a few podcasts, and I've just talked about my experience a little bit. And, like, Jet fans made it fun. That's why I'm like, let me go on some Jet fan podcasts and just, chop it up with them a little bit. Because, again, like, you guys made it fun, like, the interactions, the discussions, the debates, all that. Like, because, again, like, even when, if I face trolls or whatever, but for the most part, when I went out to tailgates and stuff, it was just love.
It's all love, yep.
Exactly, so.
Yeah, right on. I have to agree with Dylan there, too. I always feel that certain guys are looking to, get the nitty-gritty questions, the more dramatic questions. I'm not going to say clickbait and things like that, but stuff that seems outside the element of the game. And I like how you always kind of keep the focus on the X's and O's and things like that. And, for guys like Dylan and I, we live for those kind of questions, and we like hearing the feedback from the organization when they talk ball because, not being able to, live my childhood dream and be the next Emmitt Smith when I was 10 years old. That's
right.
what, I hope I'd be one day. Now I can vicariously live through this team and it still keeps me close to the game, even though it's been, well over 20 years since I even had cleats on. But I do just have a couple more questions for you before we let you go, DJ. And, we always hear, the same thing about the same players. Everyone's talking about, Mekhi Becton. Is he too big? Is he one cheeseburger away from this or that? And we just kind of feel that there's certain players that are just not getting any attention. Can you foresee a particular sleeper coming out this year that isn't being talked about enough?
Yeah, Jason Pinnock for sure. I think a battle between him and Joyner in training camp. I think if he has a good training camp,
like that.
he could. Yeah, if he has a good training camp, he could end up starting. And if he can start it with Joyner, then that lets you know that he's really earned that spot. He really stole that spot. So yeah, Jason Pinnock for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love his body frame. I always kind of saw him. I was like, man, he's so big for a corner. I would have pegged him easily for a safety, and maybe it was because that position we were rotating different bodies due to injuries and things like that. And when he came in and he had his, he got a little bit of a starting role at that safety spot, really kind of felt like he was comfortable and, he was popping the pads and making some plays. And, rookies do make mistakes. That's what they do. And, he, had a couple. But at the end of the day, I kind of feel like that could be a potential spot for him, possibly, where he could end up transitioning from corner to safety, maybe permanently. So, yeah, I really like that a lot. We'll have to tweet that out that you've got Pinnock on your radar here. And, I got two questions, one football related and then one personal here. I'm going to go with the personal first. I noticed that in your Twitter profile, you ran track at Louisville?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just curious. I'm a track guy myself. I ran the 400 hurdles, did some pole vault. What were your events?
Wow, you were an athlete.
Well, I tried.
Hello?
Did we lose him there?
No, I'm still here. I was just saying you're an athlete. That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, 12 6-foot jumper. That was probably about my claim to fame. But, what events did you run?
The 100, 200, and the 60-meter dash.
Wow, okay. Short distance, yeah, that's what's up right there. I think my coach didn't like me making me run the 400-meter a bunch of times and throw me on the relay as well. That's a dog race right there.
It is. That is big fact.
That's great, man. That's great. All right, so final question. What would be your season prediction for this team as far as, what expectations can you see for this team as far as, being more relevant within the AFC East, our own conference, or possibly do you have a number of games that you foresee the Jets potentially hitting this year?
I think they could get I think they could be an 8-win team, be in that hunt towards the end. And then, obviously, they falter a little bit at the end, but I think they could for sure be in the hunt this year because there's a lot more talent, but that schedule is brutal, man. Like, the beginning of it,
yeah.
If they don't handle business early, they could be 2-8, or 2-10. Because even, when the bye approaches, they still have two tough games right after. I think they play, the Patriots and Bills after their bye or something like that. So they got to bring you early. They can't make it to the bye 2-8. Oh, that ain't it. So.
Right. Yeah, we remember Brady Quinn giving a pretty harsh reality with his expectations. And, I didn't want to be the guy. And after looking at the first 9 weeks, and I was like, if things don't go right off the bat for this team, hang on, because it could be one rough ride for the first 2 months. And then on the second half, it does look like there's a little bit more of competitive teams for us. And it could be a tale of two scripts, which we've seen many times throughout recent years. But I like that assessment, and I think 8 games would definitely be a good benchmark for this team, and anything above that would be exceeding expectations. Dylan, any final questions or anything that you have for DJ before we let him go?
Nah, I'm all out of questions. Just thank you so much, and I hope best of luck on whatever you do next, and we're definitely going to miss you here over at Jets Twitter.
I'm going to for sure miss you guys, too.
Right on. DJ, if there's anything that you'd like to say, any parting words or anything like that, the floor is yours. We appreciate, bringing some fire, to the beat. And, I was there in attendance last year for a handful of practices, and I must say I was looking forward to rubbing elbows with you once again. But best of luck to you on your future endeavors here. And if you have anything to say, please, now's the time.
Yeah, man, as I said before, I just really appreciated how the Jet fan base embraced me, and I really enjoy how, we kind of grew together, what I'm saying? While we're, watching the Jets go through another rebuild, you guys challenged me a lot, and it made me a better reporter, made me a better writer, things of that nature, and I just, I enjoyed. There weren't that many dull days covering the Jets.
That's the truth.
For sure.
Right on. Well, you always have a friend here at Jet Nation. If there's anything that we can do for you, we follow each other on Twitter. Please don't hesitate to reach out. If you ever want to come back on the show, maybe we could talk around that Miami and Jets game. I think that's in October, so don't know what your schedule is going to be like, but open-ended invitation to the pod. And as we said before, best of luck with everything, DJ.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. All right, folks. Great interview there. DJ Bien-Aime of the Daily News. Sadly to say, this is his last week, and he will be moving on, possibly doing something different. We'll have to see. His Twitter account is pretty awesome, and I'm sure, we'll be finding out very, very soon what he's got going on here. And, Dylan, I must say, this last month has been a lot of fun, booking these interviews, with Emory Hunt about a month ago, and then we had Green Bean come on. Last week we had Mike Westhoff. If you haven't listened to that show, please go back and check out last week's episode. That was great, too. And I think, kind of putting a bow on this last 4 weeks right here with DJ has just made it all the better, not only just for our listeners, but for you and I also to interact with some people, from, the outside media circle here. And, I'm just really, really excited about everything that we've been doing.
Yeah, man, 100% agree. The last 4 weeks have been a blast. I wasn't here for Emory, but throughout Green Bean and Coach Westhoff and DJ, it's just been – it makes it all that much better when you sit down and record knowing that you have another great guest lined up. Sadly, we don't have one for next week yet. We're still working on it. Maybe we will by the time we open up on Tuesday. But as of right now, this is a great month of June. We're kicking off summer right, and hopefully it just continues because this is awesome.
Yeah, right on. And I think next week what we'll do is we'll probably do maybe a little bit of a deep dive on the New York Jets flight show. Maybe we'll talk about what our favorite episode is. Sleeper alert, we already talked about my little sound clips from episode 4. It's probably going to be mine. But there's so much to take in from those shows. So we'll probably do a little bit of a deep dive on those shows and, see if we can pick the brains of some fans and some listeners and see what they're thinking as well. So I think this is a good point in the show to where we'll call it a night here, Dylan. Any parting thoughts before we sign off for the night?
Nah, just another great one, and hopefully I'll get into Coach Westhoff's book this weekend when I get some free time.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward. Mine will be coming on the way very soon, and definitely going to chew into that for a little bit. Mike Westhoff's book, Figure It Out. All right, so before we go here, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Mile Social, for everything that they do for Jet Nation. Go to Mile Social's website to see how you can improve your business's social media status. And lastly, you got to go to JetNation.com, get involved in the forums, one of the most active NFL forums in the league. You can download our app. We are on Google Play, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. I believe we're on Spotify, YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram. We've got some things going on there as well. Glenn Naughton's on the scene doing some YouTube stuff. So everybody's keeping busy, making sure we get all the listeners out there as much Jets content as we can. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Again, special thanks to DJ Bien-Aime. Good luck on everything that you got going on moving forward, buddy. Friend of the pod, and like we said, you can always come back on anytime you like. So everybody have a great week. We will see you next Tuesday, 6:30 p.m., Jet Nation Radio. And as always, let's go Jets.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at JetNation Radio. Glenn is at AceFan23, and Alex is at NYJetsLife24. Until next time, go Jets.